to Jewish Women Talk About Midlife. Hi, I'm Devora Krasnianski, and I've been coaching women for a long time in all areas of life, including women in midlife. Midlife is an exciting time, but it's also confusing, and so I invite experts to join me here as we unpack this crazy and interesting time of our lives. You can find us on our website, jewishmidlife.com, and follow us on Jewish Midlife on Instagram or Facebook, and join our conversations in our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Jewish Women Talk About Midlife. In this episode, I speak with Gila Levitt, a marriage and intimacy coach, about the dynamics and challenges that arise within marriages during the midlife years. Everyone's marriage is different. Some people are really enjoying their marriage at this point in their lives. Some are not, but they could be. And if you're in that place of thinking that I want to make this marriage even better for both of us, then this episode is for you. Gila shared mindsets and tips for deeper connection or reconnection. She also spoke about how to make the most intimate parts of our marriage more exciting and more connecting. This episode invites you to embrace the beauty of midlife marriage, celebrating the potential for growth, fulfillment, and renewed passion that awaits those who navigate this stage with intention and authenticity. Enjoy. Gila, I'm really excited to be talking about this important topic of marriage. Midlife marriage, I think it's a little bit different than newlywed marriage, and even when
A little
raising
bit.
a family.
Yeah.
So it changes in so many ways for so many people. So this is an important topic. And so I'm glad that we're talking about it. Before we get into the topic of marriage and midlife marriage and all of that, can we talk a little bit about the work that you do specifically in marriage and just in general? So,
Okay, well, in general, it is marriage, and specifically, it is marriage. I have been involved in this topic of Taras Mishpacha by teaching Kalas and by training Kala teachers here in Yerushalayim. I said here in Yerushalayim. The truth is, I'm not here in Yerushalayim right now. I happen to be in Montreal, and I've been doing that for decades. More recently, I developed a course, which is more specifically on mitzvahs oina, on intimacy, okay, and how focusing on that, and I can get into that a little bit, focusing on that, or I would say reclaiming that, okay, and for some women, it's not reclaiming, it is claiming and embracing for the first time their sensuality, their sexuality, that part of their relationship, and it goes into everything else also. Okay. So I saw that there was like a very, very big need. There was such big gaps in women's knowledge and women's appreciation of Taras Mishpacha even, okay, and of this part of their marriage. And it was gaping holes in their relationship and gaping holes in their connection to themselves and their relationship to their life. Okay, because anyway, I could go on and on. Let me answer your questions first and then I'll take it from there.
okay, some of us by midlife, some of us have gotten married 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and anything, you know, more recently, second marriage. And I don't think it really makes a difference of when you are coming back to claiming or reclaiming. I think that it's really a fascinating topic to be talking about. But when you say claiming and reclaiming, I think we want to really define that with our audience. What are we talking about specifically?
Okay, good. So first of all, let's talk about the gaps in knowledge. I'm 61. Okay, I got married a little bit later, like I was like 25. Okay, but still, that's 35 years ago, right? Plus, right? Okay, when I got married, there was very, very little discussion about the intimate relationship. Taras Mishpacha, yes. Yeah, we got that. We even had a few nice ideas, right? Okay, but not really about what mitzvahs oina is for a woman. Mitzvahs oina is physical intimacy between husband and wife. Okay, it has nothing to do with perut revu, nothing to do with procreation. And my understanding as a kala was that that's what it was about. And also being a good wife, right? I mean, whatever, every single time I say this over, I get a little bit choked up. And every single one of us could get choked up about different things that our college teachers told us, right?
Right.
But I remember my college teacher was such a chashuv person. I mean, I learned with a few people, I have to say, okay? I learned with a few people, but this particular woman was so chashuv, so special, right? And she just said to me something like, just lie there and let him do what he needs to do.
Wow.
Yeah. And I wasn't the only one that was taught like that.
Definitely.
Right.
Then, yes, they're not,
Okay.
gratefully, they're not doing that anymore. But we're talking.
Right. Baruch Hashem, they're not doing that anymore. But you know what, Devora? In my coursework, which Baruch Hashem, like hundreds and hundreds and even thousands of women have taken this course so far, I'm still hearing it. Less, Baruch Hashem, but I'm still hearing it. Okay. What I am hearing, though, really interesting, is women who are older, and I'm going to call older, even though I think somebody in their 40s is a baby right now. She's 20 years younger than me. But let's say, like, midlife is called, like, in their 40s plus, right? I notice that the women who are midlife and more, they're really gaining the most from this course, even from the younger women. And I believe it's because of a few reasons. First of all, I noticed something interesting around age 40, 45. And that is that women like come into themselves, right? They come into themselves and they want to say in their marriages, I want more. Right. I've seen this over and over and over again, even before I really was focusing on this topic. And I was just talking about marriage in general, which is that's our life's work, right? Our marriage is our life's work. There is no other place in life where we have the opportunity to be working on ourselves 24/7, to emulate the Borei Olam 24/7, to come in to take ourselves to a whole other level in terms of our development, in terms of our middos, et cetera, right? So I always notice this. Around 40, 45, they say, okay, this maybe it worked until now. Okay, but from now on, if we are going to be together until 120, and I want to be with you until 120, we got to change. Things got to change. We got to go deeper. We got to be more honest. We got to be more connected. We have to be more supportive of each other. And it's usually she's the one that takes that stance. Even though he also, man, I also see it from the husbands also. I've heard it many, many times from the husbands also, is that now that the kids are on their way out, and here we are, let's make it great. Let's make it special. We're together. Let's do this. So I found that the older women tend to really take this material that I'm giving over and implement it in a very, very deep way. Now, yeah.
So we were talking about specifically marriage in general, and then we were starting to go down to intimacy. I want to cover both, but we can take it in any order.
When I'm talking about mitzvah zayna, I'm talking about independent of Peru or Vu, right? Not about procreation. It's about that relationship between husband and wife that they only share with each other. Now, the disciple said that mitzvah zayna is to give her the feeling that she's loved. So it's not only about physical intimacy, because it's about giving her the feeling that she's loved, which can be in other ways also. But the point of mitzvah zayna, as far as his relationship to her, because it's his obligation, mina Torah. It's not her obligation, mina Torah. Midrabanan, it's her obligation. Since she married him, then she's going to be his wife, and part of being a wife is being in this intimate relationship. But mina Torah, it's on him to give her the feeling that she's loved.
Across the board, meaning that if she wants
support, yes, and to give
tea,
her,
and if she wants time, or if she wants
yes, the tease,
all
yes,
of it.
the tease.
Okay.
time. I also say that by the T's, I like to put in transition time. Transition time, those transition times between like coming in the door and leaving for the day and reuniting for the day, those are very, very key points in a relationship, right? So yeah, time. Ona, the word ona, Devora, means time. You gotta give her time. So when women say to me that it's not, that their intimate life is not satisfying, and sometimes I will say, like, can you just give me an idea? Excuse me for asking me, but can you just give me an idea, like, how long we're talking about from beginning to end? And she'll say, like, I don't know, 5 minutes, 8 minutes. I say, well, yeah, that might be the problem over there. A woman needs time, right? A woman needs time.
And I
Anyway,
think it's
maybe
also
that's getting
time,
at the details.
hours earlier.
Absolutely. Of course. And that's why, I mean, Rashner Cutler, he used to say that really, that Pius Bedibor, which is one of the three parts of Mitzvah's Oina, Minotaur, that the Gemara speaks about, Pius Bedibor, which is talking, which is emotionally connecting. Say, it begins days and days before the actual mitzvah actually takes place.
Right.
Okay, John Gutman, and excuse me for putting like Rashner Cutler and John Gutman in the same paragraph, but okay, Lahavdil, but John Gutman, he says that foreplay is 24 hours a day. And that's what we're talking about, right? Of course, it's not in a vacuum. It's not in a vacuum, right? It's one relationship. But having said that, that it's one relationship, and I got it. I know. Like I'm in this, and first of all, I myself am married, right?
Okay.
So I know what we're talking about. There's stress, there's financial stress, there's stress from children, there's older parents, there's just the dynamics between husband and wife, the personality differences, yet alone the difference between men and women. There's so many things that could be pulling us apart, right?
Totally.
And yet, what is our avoda? V'hayu la'achad. To look for those places, to create those places that oneness is possible. Okay, that's really the avoda. V'hayu la'achad. It's not a mitzvah of taryag, right? When Hashem says al ken yazo b'hayu lachad. But I learned from very esteemed teachers in Yerushalayim, or Moshe Boyer, Rabbi Reb Shemesh, that b'hayu lachad is like a tzivui that goes with us our whole life. B'hayu lachad is going to look different when you're newlywed. It continues with us, that challenge, that opportunity, b'hayu lachad, to become one.
So I think that it looks different, like I said, newlywed, of course, because the relationship is new, but also through the years of raising a family, creating your parnasa and whatever, there's just a lot of things. But then when you're on the sort of in the midlife, when you're not dealing with carpool as much.
Yeah.
And even though some people in the earlier midlife are still dealing with carpool, but but I think it does change when you're not diapering and you're not worrying about all those kinds of things, or you might be, like you said, sandwich generation. So there's so much, and I think that it's always refreshing and reviving, and not only going through the list of what we used to do this and why can't we do what we used to do, but kind of seeing now that we are in this new dynamic, what can we do? I think that people have to try to find what works for them.
And
some people are not creative, so I'm wondering if you have ideas of how to navigate finding what works for you at midlife specifically.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to go back to the newness part.
Go ahead.
Okay, the newness part. And I want to put out something very humbly, and that is that even though I know we have Bina Yasera, and our Bina Yasera is amazing, right? Actually, I think there's one of the Meforshim who says that Vayiven, right? That's the word that was used when she was created. Says Vayiven is the same Lashon, the same gematria as Nevuah. Like sometimes our Bina Yasera feels like Nevuah. Okay. Okay. I think that sometimes works against us. Okay, meaning that we feel we've got them all figured out.
Never.
But we don't. Right. I've been living with him for 35 years. I know that if I say this, he's going to say this. If I do this, he's going to do that. You know what? We don't know anything. He is a chelik elokam mimal, which means he is infinite and there's more to get to know.
Okay.
And I'm inviting all of us to realize that here's a person, it's true you've been living with him for 25, 30, 35, 40, 50 years, whatever it is. But there's more to him that you don't know yet. So there's an aspect of curiosity. You know, when you first get married, you want to find out, you're like trying to looking for clues, like what does he like to eat? What does he like to do? Da, 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 like everything. So she can be like that perfect little wife, right? Right. So we lose that because we think we got him down pat. But maybe we got him down pat in terms of what he likes to eat, or maybe his sleeping habits. Okay. But what really moves him as a person, we might not have that yet. There's more. Just like we're growing, he's also growing. We tend to forget that.
Well, I mean, what I find is that there's so much new happening in the world also. And so what are
That's
our
another thing.
reactions to it and our perspectives about it, there's
Right.
always conversation to have.
Right. That's right. That's right. That's right. 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 So, okay, about the new and about the coming up with different things, I always suggest that couples individually, each one makes a list of things that they would like to do, like to share, like to experience, either new things or things that they have. What do I hear over and over again? I'm sure, Devora, you hear this too. You know, I like to swim. He likes to run. You know, I like to go to a museum. He likes to go on a hike. I like to do this. He likes to do that. Right. Right. So I always say it like this. Let's let's take turns to come one towards the other. I would much rather sit on the couch and read a book, right? But if we have a ping pong table around, so he'd like to play ping pong. Now, me playing ping pong is a joke. I mean, it's a joke. It's, you know, it's not going to be as much fun for him because it's really, he's not playing with somebody who really knows what they're doing, right? You know, but just the fact that I am willing to play ping pong, okay, and you know, give him a good laugh over like how I'm such a spaz at playing ping pong, right?
Mm-hmm.
That itself has value, okay? Because he is, I remember speaking to a woman once. Oh my goodness, I remember exactly where I was sitting in my house when she called. And I remember feeling so upset with her because she was like, Mom is willing to like write off the whole marriage. Why? Because of this differences in like things that they like to do.
Mm-hmm.
She was somebody that loved museums, had such an appreciation for art and for sculpture and for all kinds of things. And he was, that's not where he was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she felt like such a part of her was missing because she couldn't share it with him. But first of all, she could share it with other people, and he didn't have a problem with that. And second of all, he was willing to come with her like you know, sometimes to share
Right.
with her in her passion of art and etc. Okay, that was huge. You know, that is huge, right? You know what I'm saying? And you know, I remember saying to her, like, you know, have you noticed? And this is important for us to remember too. And I think when somebody hears this at 25 or 35, they don't quite get it. But at this point, when our Bina has been developed a little bit more and we have that gift, right? Then we can hear it. And we know this, right? You can't have everything that you want. You know, that's just not the way life is, right? What is the whole like secret really of life is to appreciate what it is that you do have,
Right.
right? And to look for the things that you do have. Like I think my mother has on her fridge, you know, if you want to feel rich, count all the things that you have that money cannot buy. But we do tend to have this negativity bias, and those women, and I'm one of them, I am definitely one of them. I remember saying to my husband years ago, like, you know, when I was also dealing with more hormonal changes than I am now, like, you think it's, I know it's hard for you to live with me, but do you know how hard it is for me to live with me? You know?
Right. Right.
Right? Um, So I'm just saying that there's some women, and I'm including myself in that, we tend to focus on the negative bias, maybe more so than people, and our imagination is also very, very, very rich and vivid, and a lot of times will also take us to negative places instead of positive. So part of our maturity in ourselves and the gift we will bring to our marriage is to stop that. No, being more focusing on positive, not letting our imagination go to the negative, but going to the positive. Anyway, back to your thing about being creative about this thing. So this is one of the things that I've suggested to couples. They make a list, he makes a list, she makes a list, and they will decide with each other, like, okay, I'm willing to do this, I'm willing to do that. And let's see where it takes us. You know, I had such a cute couple during during COVID, right? So I found for my people that I was in touch with that it was actually a time of such deepening and connecting for so many couples. Really, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. So there was one couple that they decided that they were going to do Yemenite dancing. Okay, Yemenite dancing. Now, first they had this idea about ballroom dancing, but they couldn't find any ballroom dancing online that was like suitable for this man to look at. You know, it just didn't go. So first they thought that maybe she would watch it, she would try to get the moves and teach him. It did not go. So then they decided, you know what, Yemenite dancing. You can find Yemenite dancing, like all kinds of YouTubes of like just these like Yemenite Bachur dancing, and they're so beautiful. So they mamish made a seder in like learning how to do these Yemenite dances. I mean, I just thought I was so moved by this couple. You know, they were just determined to find things that they could have fun with. And let's use that word, fun.
I think what I think of, especially about midlife, is that we know we can't get everything right. Like your example of ping pong, but you're willing to try, and I think that there's something fun about trying and not doing it so well, and that's
Yeah,
okay
that's
too.
right. That's right. Just laughing about it, not right. Because when we're in our 20s and 30s, we think it has to be perfect. And then finally we get at 40s, 50s, 60s. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not how, if you win, it's how you play the game or
Right.
something like that.
But I'm also
So,
finding for myself is that when we go, let's say we choose to go on a hike or a walk, and it turns out to be not a great place. Like it was just like it was recommended, and it was just I mean, it was nice. I mean, it's always wonderful to be in nature, but it wasn't like we drove for an hour to get here, and it was like, and so what?
right, yeah,
About the
yeah,
company, and
yeah.
it was like, now we know we're not to go again, or we now know
That's right.
not to recommend, and that's okay
That's right.
too. Like it was just
That's,
one Sunday out of many Sundays, and that's
yeah.
okay. But we know like we won't drive there again.
We know where not to go. Now, I'd like to come back to the Mistress Oina part
Okay.
because this is something else that I've seen, and I'm sure that you have too, and that is that very often when we are disconnected emotionally or we're going through hard times, that's another discussion, by the way. What brings it? Disconnection or conflict? Like what comes first? And usually we say that disconnection really comes first, and that's what causes a conflict, and that the conflict causes more disconnection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, but we know that usually when that happens, that yeah, the bedroom is like the first one, like next to go.
Right.
And I meet couples, and I'm sure that you do too, Devora, right? That it's been not weeks, it's like months, or even years. And sometimes it comes together with like not going to the mikveh regularly. Also, the mikveh sometimes, like at least they have like that one time, but then it goes so like, oh, fine, you could push it off, push it off, push it off, push it off,
And
right?
in midlife, there is no
But
mikvah kind of getting us there.
yeah, right, exactly. On the other hand, it's the way to look at it is that it's she's Tahora always. They can always be together.
Right.
Not that there's not opportunity. It's the opposite. Okay. Anyway, that's just like a different mindset. But what I want to put out is that actually, if we are not sharing that intimate relationship with each other, it causes more emotional disconnect. Okay. And Yeah. Now it's because Miss Zoina has really two parts. It's an expression of our love for each other, but it's also what fuels and what powers and what facilitates our love for each other and our connection to each other.
Okay. But if
Okay.
there is no, so it's kind of that, what comes first?
Okay. So I like when couples come together, when couples come to me and they say like they have this issue, what I do is once they can get on the same page that marriage is important to them and they want to be together, okay? They want to be together and they're willing to put down the swords, willing to put down the guns. I remember one woman calling me, asking me about my course, that she had so much resentment over the 40 years that she was married, about her mother-in-law and this and this and this, that she wasn't willing to let go of it. Said, you know what? I don't think you're ready for this,
Right.
right? Okay, you're willing to put down the guns, willing to put down the bat, okay, willing, and you think, yes, this is important to us, then let's get close again physically. Okay. Yes, I know it sounds like it doesn't sound, does it sound counterintuitive? Isn't that what the Bori Olam asks us to do as soon as we get married? We don't even know this person, right?
Yeah, but that at that point there's hope and excitement, not 30 years of mix. I was gonna say not only bad history, there's always mixed history. It's not only bad. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be trying. It's different.
Okay.
It is different.
Okay, it's different, but again, we know. I mean, what I'm saying now is not like, it's
Right.
not like 2023 stuff. This goes, there's a Gemara about this, um, that it may seem shalom bayis. This is what it fuels and powers the shalom bayis between a couple. Okay. Now, again, we can talk about levels, which we don't have to go there. I mean, I'm not talking about that it has to be like amazing, amazing, amazing. That's what we'll get there. But even if it's just kirvas basar, even if it's just closeness, physical closeness, that's all. That's all. Okay. Then what happens is, I think it's like a 20-minute like thing, and a 20-minute like time until when people are together physically, that oxytocin actually kicks in and they actually begin to feel more close and connected. So I say just start there. Let's not have any big expectations.
I
Okay.
mean, you could start in
Let's
the
not have any
kitchen,
big expectations.
sitting over coffee or tea.
We're going to start over there, but our goal is to get physically close. Okay. Okay. That is our goal. That is something you see. The thing is like this, Devora. We have a whole history. We have a whole history. And therefore sometimes it can like get in the way. But we can also use that history to fuel us forward. Okay. Not everything was bad. Not every single time we talked did we end up in an argument. Not every single time. There were moments, there were times. I'm choosing to stay together with you because which once upon a time there wasn't such a choice. Today there is a choice. But I'm choosing to stay with you because I'm choosing to find the parts in you that are special, that are unique, that I connect to. I want to cultivate them and I want to take them further with us. I want to create something special with you. That's why I'm with you right now. So having that, knowing that, doing that, being committed to that, and then we're going to also reinstate or re-embrace maybe this physical part of our relationship also. Okay. And when I mean no big expectations, I'm saying that doesn't have to be the biggest, highest levels of pleasure. Men have their issues as they get older. Women have their issues. And actually something very beautiful that has been created, that we actually come closer together as we get older in terms of our physical needs. He's like, things are like a little bit slower for him. So gives her more time. She's sometimes very more um, more interested and more able to get to where she wants to go without as in a quicker time than he is. It's very interesting how Hashem created it, that she uh, she actually, like, with her hormones, she actually becomes, there's more um because the estrogen levels are like all the way down, right? Then the ratio between estrogen and testosterone which is, the main hormone in this whole intimacy dance, is closer together, which means that her desire can be stronger than it was in earlier years. It's amazing thing how Hashem created it, just amazing. But I'm saying, without any big expectations, just the fact that a husband and wife are willing to be together, to lie together, to touch each other, to kiss each other, to look at each other. Okay, that is something that they don't share with anybody else in the world. Okay, that is what will fuel their relationship further.
At the same time,
Okay,
I think that for many couples, it starts in the living room or
yeah,
it starts many hours earlier with some
of
sort of
course.
relationship. It's not like he comes home from Myra and let's go.
Of course, of course. So that's why I'm a very, very big advocate of planning and scheduling. Very, very big. Okay. Some people argue with me. They say, what about spontaneity? I say, spontaneity,
Go
that's
for
great
it.
too. Go for it. I always say like this, if you're waiting for desire to come, you're going to be waiting a long time. Okay. The whole thing is to create the desire, right? If you have spontaneous desire, go for it. Just make it happen. Make sure. But those other times, just can't wait for it to happen. So we put it on our schedule. Like anything else that is important to you and me, we put it on our schedule, whether or not it's going to be a PTA meeting or a chasana or whatever, a meeting for work, it's on the schedule, right?
Right.
And we make sure that it happens. So in order for it to happen, it means that he comes home early from Mariv. Yes, it does. Okay. It means that during that day that she doesn't run herself ragged taking care of her 10 grandchildren. No, she doesn't. She can do that tomorrow. Okay. But right now, there's something else that's more important to me and to my life and ultimately to our whole family, which is my relationship with my husband. I'm putting that first. My kids actually shared with me that they notice a change. Well, they notice a very big change, a shift in my relationship with my husband over the past few years. And they have such a pride in it. They put it something like mommy and Tati like rediscovered each other or something like that. And yeah, I was very moved. Like first they just like said to me, like each of them, I have 3 kids, and each of them said to me like something like, mommy, something's different around here. Something's different, you know. And I just smiled, whatever. And then they were like mama's talking, all of us, and they say, oh yeah, and in the past few years when mommy and Tati like have this like new discovery of each other and something. And I was so touched. And I'm sharing it with all of you because our children notice.
Right.
They notice. They notice that there's more of a connection in the way that we look at each other, in the way that we listen to each other. Okay. In the way that we are together with as a unit in different situations that are coming up.
Right.
Right. And for our younger couples who are, whatever, married anywhere between, my kids are maybe between 6 and 15 years, whatever, or couples that are married 25 years, it's such a lesson for them. We don't stop teaching our children about marriage just because they leave the house.
Right. Well, there's different stages and phases of life and of marriage that we're just always going to be ahead of our children. That's just
right. Right. And don't we want it to be that way?
well, we just always will be ahead of our children just by
Yeah.
them being
Yeah.
younger than us. But they could always be learning and growing from what we're doing for the different
Right.
phases that they'll get to. And that's the goal of life, is to keep aging gratefully and gracefully, and so they can always be watching us. But what I want to get back to is some of the questions that I'm getting is like, so if we didn't have much of a relationship through the years because we were so busy, whatever it was, so rediscovering is a nice term, but what does that look like? What is that
What is
like?
that?
What are the activities? What are the conversations? For some people, it's a new dynamic because for so many years the conversation was about car payments and carpool and PTAs, and this kid is doing this and this kid should be doing that. That there wasn't even a relationship, which is a message to the younger set to actually foster the relationship throughout. But now we're talking to us midlife. So how can we rediscover, or what kind of things can we be doing to bring back what hopefully was there at the very beginning, before there were kids and before there were carpools and before there were tuitions?
Right. So what I always suggest is that they make time to either to go somewhere, to go for a walk, to go for a drive. A lot of people tell me they do better in the car than like across the kitchen table. You know,
Yeah.
I guess it's the maybe the distracting of what's outside the window, or just like maybe going somewhere or something, whatever. It doesn't really matter as long as it works for you. But there is a rule of we're not talking about the kids. You
Right.
know, there's places we are not going to go. Where are we going to go? We're just talking right now about like today. How do you feel today? What would you like to do today? How can I make you happy? What can I contribute to your happiness today? You notice I didn't say make you
I
happy.
saw you took that back.
Okay. Okay. I took that back very quickly. And because that's something else. We're not responsible for anybody else's happiness, right? Okay, they're ultimately responsible, but we can contribute to their good feelings,
Right.
which hopefully, and then they can choose to be happy with it or not, right?
Right.
Okay. With older couples, this is where we go. Also, there should be shabbosim that are at least one meal alone. What's so interesting, many people have shared with me that they were dreading those shabbosim, dreading them. You know, like with the kids around, with grandchildren around, there's such distractions, right? Okay. They say, let's do something different. Even just one meal without anybody else. Okay. Just time for you. Either it's going to be a faster meal because you just want to go to sleep. Okay. Or it could be a longer meal because he can say whatever he wants, or you could talk about whatever you want. It doesn't matter. The point is that it's just the two of you. So it's really interesting because I've seen this a few times that people have shared with me, women have shared with me that those first few were like they were like dreading it. It wasn't going to go. And eventually they like look forward to those shabbosim or those students where there's nobody else around because it's just them, you
I
know?
hear that, and I think that's great. At the same time, if you're using those meals, meals, just to have a quick meal and go to sleep, you're kind of missing the point. The idea
Of,
is to have conversation without distraction.
that's
And
right.
and for
That's
those
right.
who've never, who not, I can't say never because that's a huge word. For those who haven't had good conversations throughout the years that have nothing to do with the kids and the carpools and the tuitions and whatever else, I think that it's worth finding some conversation starters, whether it's you do like the Devar Torah, or if you don't like the Devar Torah, then don't do that. There's only two of you
Right.
that you have to have a conversation that you enjoy, whether it's a
Right.
book that
Right.
you just read or something in the news, but
Right.
find
Right. So,
something that doesn't
right.
aggravate you.
Yeah.
Politics, if politics is something that you are on different sides, then don't have that kind of conversation. At least not,
Good. Good.
not the Shabbos meal. Like there's so many other times to be having that
Right.
conversation, or maybe just have one of that on your list of, well, I can talk politics and shul, and I can talk politics to my friends, and we don't have to be arguing. You don't have to try to persuade the other one to onto our side of politics, because it's just
Yeah.
not that important. I mean,
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
or
You
all
know,
kinds of things like how they should have fixed the schools, or what schools should have been done differently, how to fix the community. Like if that's a topic that gets you all riled up, and that's not what we're talking about.
right. So I love to suggest to couples all across the board when they're having, especially when they're stuck in conversation, is that they pick something to learn together. Okay. It could be whatever it is. That way, the text speaks a little bit for them. The text speaks, and then they can take it from there. Okay. When I said that the meal could be just like, the fast meal, go to sleep, I'm just giving people permission.
Right.
Okay. Giving people permission that it can be whatever you want. Now, of course, we want it to be something more, but sometimes it might just be that. Okay. I like to suggest something that you can have. Either it's going to be, there's so much available today, right? There's so much available. So I remember just recently, actually, somebody said that they couldn't even agree on like what to learn. So I said, what about a story? What about a storybook? Like short stories,
Right.
inspirational short stories or something like that. So that went, and that was able to like spark other things. Not right away though, like not right away. It maybe just 2 or 3 times until like it actually created something reminded one of them of something else. And I mean, she was definitely the better conversationalist, right?
Right.
So yeah, but it took a few times until they were able to create something a little bit more. But Devora, let's focus on that. If a person decides, if a woman decides, a husband decides, they decide that this is important, they will find a way. Okay? They will find a way to make it happen.
Yes,
Okay?
yes, and I think that some couples and some couples that I've spoken to, they want to, they just don't have the creativity or what to have conversations around. For some people, they have that short list of conversations that we're not going to have. We're not going to talk about politics. We're
So
not,
what else? Right.
we're not
Yeah.
going to talk about certain things that have different perspectives on, and they just rehashed it enough that they don't. Then what's left is that when you're talking about the current events, there's a lot of sad stories, so they don't want to talk about that. And that
Right.
they're kind of going through with, and they don't know what to be talking about. So, I mean, let's plan your date. I mean, you can talk about it for a little while, where you want to go, what we can do. If one of you like to hike and the other one likes museums, well, and if you're planning a vacation, then there are some places that actually have hikes and museums, half a day on this and or the next
Right.
day on
Right.
that.
Right.
And like,
Right. That's what we
find the
said.
country.
Right.
Armchair
Right.
travel for those who enjoy traveling could be really cool. I mean, it may not, maybe not on Shabbos because you can't go online and look at the pictures of where to go, but those kind of conversations, like find your conversations that actually animate you, and animate in a good way, because animate can go either way.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
remember what the conversation was so that you can actually have a different variation
Yeah,
of that.
I was gonna come up to that too, to like whenever, especially if the conversation is something that is challenging, how important it is, how important it is to remember what it is that they said so we can keep up the next time. Oh, I remember you said this, da 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 da. But I was thinking da 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 da, right? And what do you think of that, right? So how often do you hear, and I hear anybody that works with couples hear, oh, he doesn't hear me. Oh, he didn't remember what I said, right? Or he can say it about her too, right?
Yeah.
Either one. So how important is that listening part? It's not just the talking part, it's the listening part and reframing.
Summarizing
Yes.
it, like sort of like that was a great
I
conversation. I
didn't mean
enjoyed that your
reframing, I meant
perspective
summarizing.
on that. Like there is some language to kind of like
There is,
solidify the
yeah, I can hear
conversation.
that.
Yeah, to
Right, right.
solidify that this was a
I'm sure you've probably suggested to your women the 36 questions from Ace, from what was his name? Aaron, what's his name?
well, it was
I think
based
he
on
was a
somebody
Jewish guy
else's.
also that came up with those 36 questions, right? So I had a couple once. I think it was also during Corona actually, and they really took this list very very seriously. They told me they only got to like I think number maybe 11 or something like that. And then they put away the list. They felt they had gotten it had given them enough like to get going, and they like were able to like put it away. But I always like to say to people like this little experiment that they did, I think it was like in the 90s, right? It was like goes back a
It was
long
more
way.
recent.
But I always say like this, if this little experiment they did and they saw that when people ask each other questions and actually listen and look at each other in the eye, and we didn't mention that either yet, okay? But this is a very, very big thing about looking at each other in the eyes, okay? And making that eye contact connection, because windows really are the windows to the soul, and people do connect by eye contact. If it worked for strangers just to give good feelings ones towards the other, you don't think it's going to work for us? We're already connected. Our neshama's already connected. We already have a lifetime connection. We're committed to being together. Of course it's going to work. Of course it's going to make it. I find that people just say, like, what do I need that for? But we know that something works. So let's try it. And then you can develop it from there. Nothing, it's not Torah Sinai, right?
Right, but the idea is talking soul to soul, not just about
Yes,
like
exactly. Right.
what makes me unique, talking to what makes you unique. And I love those
Yeah.
questions. I didn't know that
Yeah.
H had them, but the general one is 36 questions to make anyone fall in love with you.
Yeah. You can get them at Ace. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
You can get
guess
them at
it's
Ace.
posterized
And
there.
yeah. 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 I think it's a good idea to like put it out during Corona. Again, I go back to Corona because I did a lot of this kind of work during Corona. During Corona, I came up with 4 surprising questions. for people that don't want to ask yourselves at the end of the day. I really don't remember them. I don't remember what they were, but, and now I made them as a resource in my course. But whenever I would, whatever I would share them with you, to like anybody that wants them, or surprising questions. I think like at the end of the day, and people love those questions because I hear what you're saying. Couples of all ages like to have like a little direction, and people like formulas 1, 2, 3, 4, and
Well,
then
they don't, but
we're
if
in
you
a
choose
different
not to, that means you don't need that. But
right,
what
right,
I've
of
done
course,
is something I'm grateful for, something I learned this week, those kinds of questions. And at the shop, something I learned this week, someone interesting that I met this week, those kind of questions we did it with, even with the kids,
yeah,
so that we can actually
yeah,
learn what's interesting to each other.
yeah, right,
Those
right,
are, so you can do that either at night or once a week, whether it's
yeah,
shop,
whatever
Sunday
it is,
morning,
right,
whatever, but kind of schedule it, or in your morning walk or morning hike or whatever it is. But those kind of things are something that I learned this week. I think is one of the most powerful questions that we can conversation starters.
yeah, nice, yeah, yeah. The idea of eye contact, right, is something. There's a beautiful makor that it says in Slichas. It says in Slichas, "Pikach einecha urei," asking Hashem to open up his eyes and see.
Right.
The idea of Slichas is that when we asking why are we asking Hashem to open up his eyes and look at us? Because when he opens up his eyes and looks at us, his rachmanis on us is going to be awakened. And that's the way it is for couples too. When we actually look at each other in the eyes, okay, then you see another person, you see another neshama. There is a connection there.
Yeah. And of
Okay,
course,
so
it has to be said, but shouldn't be said, is always put the phone away, which
oh, right. Don't we wish we didn't have to say it, but we do. And it's more and more and more and more that we have to say it. But yeah. So I always say even just start with 5 minutes. Ideally, you want to say 20 minutes, a half an hour. Sometimes it's like, oh my goodness, there's no way I could ever do that. 5 minutes also has value, right? Which is another point over here. Like tefas meruba lo tefas klum. Let's not go first. Let's just whatever it is that we can do, let's do that and build from there. Right.
It takes 5 minutes to walk around the block. So it's just like after dinner, just to walk around the block, which is good for digestion and a whole bunch of other things. But that's the 5 minute of conversation without your phones for 5 minutes. The world will just work on without just 5 minutes, just literally around the block or down the block, depending how your streets are.
Yeah, whatever it is. Right.
It doesn't have to be
Or we
much.
go, right. It doesn't have to be, yeah.
And then you can decide if you want to go around the block again or down the next block.
Right.
It's just really literally saying just around the block, which is really can work. It's a manageable amount of time. And now that we're coming into summer, where it's evening could be better weather, and just plan it after dinner. And again, it's 5 minutes. If you're eating dinner at the same time, you could add 5 minutes to the dinner time and walking around the block. Or wash the dishes together. That's another one.
Wash the dishes. Yeah.
That doesn't even take 5 minutes for 2 dishes.
Yeah, that's an interesting whether you brought that up because I also heard that a lot from midlife couples. Many women have shared with me that there's more of a sharing, quote unquote, in household, just taking care of the house, which has also been like helpful for them. So, whatever, he was like very, very busy when things were and everything was falling on her, but more nicha as he gets older to help her a little bit with this and the other thing, of course, especially of course if she shows her appreciation for what it is that he's doing.
But I'd like to put it all together, like it's the eating together and either washing the dishes or walking around the block, which helps in the digestion and the conversation that can happen in all of that. As long as the conversation about washing the dishes is not like you left a spot here or you didn't dry it well enough here, it doesn't really take a lot of thinking to wash your dishes. So you can actually have real conversation. Right. So stack them together. And so it puts it all.
Yeah, habit stacking. Yeah.
Like dinner just has a few more components to it. I mean, you can do that Sunday morning as well, or any weekday morning if that's what your schedule allows. But for some people, it's just kind of finding that spot and putting it all together. So that where there's conversation, whether it's cutting the salad at the same time or, plating while one cuts the salad. Like you said, we can be doing it together at the same time. Because we want to be eating dinner together, if we're going to be eating dinner together. So what can we put a little bit before and a little bit after that is a togetherness about it, not like each of you sit on your phone while you're eating dinner, which can happen.
Yeah, it's sad. Very,
It happens.
very hurtful.
Yes.
It happens.
This was
I
a
know it
great
happens.
conversation. Do you have any final thoughts, and how can people reach you?
So I'll tell you, I think the best way to reach us right now, we have an email. I have an email list. People will get like an email from me like once a week or something like that, talking about intimacy and marriage, etc. And also I just put out to you people that I would share with you that 4 surprising questions if you want to
Definitely.
use them as a stepping stone. And I think the best way is to reach out to info@heartofmarriage.org. Okay, info@heartofmarriage. Tell her that you want to just say that you want to be added to the list because we're in the middle of making a new website, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not sure of the link. That's why I'm just saying maybe best just to email us. Okay. And then take it from there. And as far as our course goes, Revitalizing Intimacy Formula, as is Hashem, we're hoping in the next like month or so to open it up again. And so we'll let you know. We'll let you know about that also.
Wonderful. So Heart of Marriage is your website, and info@heartofmarriage is the way to reach you.
Info, yeah, but our website is mamash not existent right now.
Okay.
I'm not even sure what you'll see there when you go. Hopefully in the next couple of months. That's what we're working on. Okay. And a second, I'm adding it to add to email list and ask for surprising questions.
So I'll also add that to the show notes at the end.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, great.
All right. So thank you so much, Gila. This was really an interesting conversation. I think it's really helpful to get perspective and some new ways of seeing marriage as our midlife. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
A wonderful day.
Okay. You too. All the best. Bye-bye.